What is up, people, and welcome. Sony has been remastering a lot of their games, so I thought that I would make a list of the top 10 PlayStation 3 exclusive games that I want to be remastered for the PlayStation 4. Now note, for this list, I'm only talking about games that were exclusive, of course, because it says that in the title. And this also means no games that were for PS2 that got remastered for PlayStation 3, and I'm saying that that remaster should be remastered again for PlayStation 4 like Shadow Colossus. I'm not talking about like that. If you get what I mean, I hope that's not confusing. And of course, there are no games that already have been remastered. I don't think I should say that, but maybe I should. I don't know. And lastly, the game has to be made by Sony. So if the game isn't made by Sony, but it is an exclusive, it will not be on this list. For instance, like Metal Gear Solid 4. So those games like that are not going to be on this list. So with all that being said, let's jump right into it. Number 10, Twisted Metal. Of course, this is the Twisted Metal that came out on PlayStation 3. It was a very good game and it was very solid. I never really got to actually buy the game because I did have it because I had it on PlayStation Now. But after my PlayStation Now expired, I never got back into it because it was around the time where PlayStation 4 was coming out. So I would like them to make a remaster of Twisted Metal so I can actually play the game, the full game, play online with other people, possibly friends, and actually have a blast with this game. Number 9, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Now, I do think Sly Cooper Thieves in Time was a very good game, but I think it was overlooked and overshadowed because of the time it came out. It kind of came out in the worst time possible. First of all, I think it was too many games and too many heavy hitters coming out at that time. And it kind of came out at the end of PlayStation 3's lifespan. I think the game would have did better overall if they held it and actually released it as a PlayStation 4 release title or launch title, whatever you want to call it. And then it probably would actually have got the sales that it needs. So I do think Sly Cooper does deserve a second chance in getting that remaster so they can try to push the game and actually release it at a good time where there's not too many heavy hitters coming out in a nice flow. So they can probably at least hit that million mark that this game actually deserves. Number 8, Infamous 1 and Infamous 2. Infamous is kind of looked at as a superhero game, and of course we all know why, because the character has powers and a pretty open world game and it's pretty great. And I know some people may have got turned off from Infamous Second Son, but I heard a lot of people say that Infamous Second Son isn't like the previous Infamous games. I can't make that statement myself because I personally haven't played Infamous Second Son, but I did play the first 2 games. Not to mention that Infamous was one of the best new IPs that was released on the PlayStation 3. So I do think it does deserve a remaster for the PlayStation 4. Number 7, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. I know this is a game people probably would think I would have higher on the list, and I actually kind of wanted to put it higher on the list, but the only reason why I didn't because I would prefer it for them to make a sequel. I know if they do make an HD remaster, more than likely the sequel will wait even longer, so I would prefer them to make a sequel than a remaster. But if they wanted to test the waters with a remaster, I'm pretty cool with that, and I would definitely buy this game day one. The only thing I would say is if they make this game, they have to put the DLC characters that they were going to put in it, and possibly if they can put Crash or something or Spyro, I think that can also boost the sales, and they don't have to, make a new game for that. Could just add the characters in. So maybe they do need to make a remaster if they're skeptical about making a sequel to the game, but they should put Dart in the game because he did have a character model. So if they can scrape up that character model and actually fix it up or whatever and put him in the game, that'd be awesome. So with that being said, let's move on to the next game. Number 6, Warhawk and Starhawk. Now, Warhawk and Starhawk was one of the best multiplayer games on the PlayStation 3. The thing about Warhawk and Starhawk, it is mainly focused on air combat. And I know with that, a lot of people probably would think that I'm trying to hint that the ground combat may be bad or lackluster, but that's not the case with this game. And to be honest, that's what makes it so great, because most of the games that try to do something like this, or is based on one kind of combat, the rest of the combat in the game will be very lackluster, but it's also multiplayer based. Warhawk doesn't have a campaign or a single player mode, but Starhawk, they did give it a single player and a campaign mode. So with that, I do think a lot of people probably missed out on this game because it kind of did the same thing. It kind of came out close to the end, not exact end of the PlayStation 3's life, but it came close to the end of PlayStation 3's life, and they didn't really have any trailers, but it did manage to sell 1 million copies. So that is saying something. I do think if they HD remaster this game, slap it on the PlayStation 4, it probably can pick up some sales and some new fans. Number 5, the Resistance Collection. This includes Resistance Fall of Man, Resistance 2, and Resistance 3. Resistance was one of the best shooters that was on PlayStation, and it had one of the best multiplayers, and I know a lot of people want another installment, 4th installment to the game, but it doesn't seem like they're necessarily ready to do that right now. I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but I think it'll be good for them to make a Resistance Collection, and of course for those people who probably had missed out on the game and may want to play, because some of the people who had the Xbox before have a PlayStation now, so this will be the best way to introduce them to Resistance. Number 4, Killzone 2 and Killzone 3. Now, if you haven't noticed, Killzone is my favorite shooter of all times. The reason why I think Killzone 2 and 3 are needed is because it would explain a whole lot in Killzone Shadowfall why there was so much beef between the two groups. And I do think if you played the previous Killzone, it will boost your experience because of the fact that you wouldn't really know what's going on in Killzone Shadowfall. I think that's really one of the things that happened with a lot of people because it was a little confusing. So I do think if they HD remaster Killzone 2 and 3, not necessarily 1 because 1 is a PlayStation 2 game so it can't be up here, and I don't think it's necessarily needed. So if they do Killzone 2 and 3, I think people will be able to grasp the concept and they'll actually enjoy the game and understand where Killzone Shadowfall was coming from. Because when I played the game, I was very hyped and I was really excited for what was going on in Killzone Shadowfall. And then, I kind of seen some of the videos or comments and the stuff that people made about the game, saying it was a little underwhelming. They thought it was going to be more of a war type game. And those, of course, were the people who haven't played the previous Killzone. And not saying that everybody loved it, even people who played the previous Killzones. But I do think they should make an HD remaster before they actually push out another Killzone game. Number 3, Heavenly Sword. The Heavenly Sword is like a popular game because people do know who Noriko is and they do know the character and they do know Heavenly Sword, but they didn't necessarily get to buy it because people did know who she was once she was introduced in PlayStation All-Stars. It wasn't like people were like, who is this girl or where did she come from? People knew that she was from Heavenly Sword. So I do think people will be interested in a remaster because Heavenly Sword came out when the PlayStation 3 first came out. Well, like a year after. And we all know that PlayStation 3 came out, it kind of started out bad because the pricing was very high and a lot of people didn't really get to buy it. But Heavenly Sword did sell over 1 million copies, so that's pretty good. So I do believe if they make an HD remaster, they can finally pick up some sales and finally get that sequel. And it was one of the best new IPs that was on the PlayStation 3. Number 2, Folklore. Folklore is one of those games that is very original and it's not like any other game. It has many different elements. It has like action, adventure, strategy, and it's like a mystery type game all in one. And what I mean by strategy is not like Final Fantasy type strategy. It's like strategy in the way you have to defeat your enemies with certain abilities, or you may have to set them on fire and then start taking damage. And you play 2 different characters, Ellen and Keats, and they're trying to generally find out what's going on in this small village. Folklore kind of falls in the same category as Heavenly Sword, but it's different because it didn't sell well. It sold a little over 300,000. We all know that's not good numbers. So I do think if they make an HD remaster, they can probably try to get people interested in this game because I do believe a lot of people did miss out on a really good game. Number 1, Demon Souls. Now this is the game that started it all, and in my opinion this is the best out of the Souls series because I think the rest of the Souls series is missing some of the elements that Demon Souls had, and I'm not going to get into that because this is not a video of why Demon Souls is better than Dark Souls. But with that, I am actually surprised that Demon Souls did not get an HD remaster because Dark Souls is very popular right now. And I'm sure a lot of the fans of the Souls series will buy this game, even the people who bought it already, like me, would enjoy buying an HD remaster and playing it again. But aside from that, I know I probably should talk about this a little bit, the hard factor, that Demon Souls was harder than Dark Souls was. And the reason why I say that is because Dark Souls kind of babies you in a way and Demon Souls doesn't. And I say that because Demon Souls, it leaves bonfires all over the place, for you to find. And when you play Dark Souls, there's no bonfires at all. Except in the beginning of the stage, and every time you beat a boss, a new bonfire spawns. So if you die, you start in the beginning of the stage. You don't start in the middle where you could teleport to another bonfire. It's not like that. So it's like you have to run all the way from the beginning all the way up to the boss. So only how you can get a new bonfire is if you kill a boss and then the bonfire appears. So if you rage in Demon Souls, you are definitely going to rage in Dark Souls. This is my favorite Souls games, like I said, so I really do hope they remaster this game one day so everybody can get a chance to play it. So that is all for my list, and I didn't make a honorable mentions. I probably would put it in the description down below, and while you're down there, you might as well power up by hitting that like button. And don't forget to comment down below because I do read you guys' comments, and let me know what games you guys would like to see remastered that was on the PlayStation 3. So that is it for my video. Don't forget to subscribe to join the guild, and as always, my boys and girls, have a good one, and game over.